Welcome to the Adtech podcast from ExchangeWire, bringing you the latest news and views from the world of Adtech, media and marketing.
Hello and welcome to the Adtech podcast. I am Amy Newell-Tarian, editor at ExchangeWire, and I'm here today with Lindsay Roundtree, our COO.
Hello.
Welcome, Lindsay. How are you doing?
Lovely to be here. Very tired, so if I yawn, I'm sorry, but there might be quite a bit yawning. But yeah, no, it's good to be here.
Yeah, and nice weather.
Lovely weather, finally. Spring has sprung in London.
Spring is here. Spring has
spring
arrived. Yeah, and we're also here with Kieran O'Kane, founder and advisor of ExchangeWire.
Hello.
Welcome, how are you?
I'm good. I've got my canvas shirt on.
Good, yeah, ready for a serious discussion today.
I didn't know what to wear this morning. I got up this morning and I was wearing my Adtech uniform, my half zip. So actually, Adtech VC uniform, half zip.
Is that the quarter zip?
Half zip, quarter zip,
zip, yeah.
Shirt. I thought, wow, it's really warm. So dusted off me canvas shirts from Cannes and wearing one today.
Your creased can shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
It's not creased, it's all right.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
You're very smart.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Lindsay,
The effort's appreciated by everyone, I'm sure, by all of our viewers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ready for some serious talk about Adtech?
definitely.
Yeah.
Great.
So today we're looking at news stories from 3 different areas: streaming, retail and out of home, covering a range of topics from rugby fans upset with in-game ads to Walmart's AI assistant driving sales up for the retailer. So first, we're exploring a couple of streaming stories, starting with new regulations for those operating in the UK streaming landscape. So streaming platforms which operate within the UK are set to come under enhanced regulation from media regulator Ofcom, which already oversees traditional TV broadcasting. The new legislation includes rules on accuracy, impartiality, protecting audiences against harmful content, as well as more accessibility requirements like subtitling and audio descriptions. So any video on-demand platform with over 500,000 users will be designated a Tier 1 service, and people will now be able to submit complaints about these streaming services to Ofcom, and Ofcom will gain the power to investigate them. So, Kieran, I'll start with you. Do you agree that streaming platforms should be held to the same standards as like traditional broadcasters in the UK?
I mean, there's so many lunatics out there who can complain about programs, the BBC, ITV, Channel 4. So why should Netflix and all the other streaming platforms have to deal with the same thing? So I think it's TV, isn't it? Like all those platforms should be adhering to the same rules that TV does. I'm surprised it doesn't extend to the YouTube as well. It's a bit more complicated because I don't know what it is. What is it? People call it TV. They like to call themselves TV, but it's convenient. When it's convenient for them, they won't call themselves TV. We're a platform. So, no, I think it's a good move. I don't
bringing
know
that
enough.
discussion back again. Is it TV? Is it not TV?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And should all those platforms, I mean, like if you think about where people are spending their time, should all the platforms, not just streaming, why is TikTok and, Instagram, and why are they not all observing the same rules? Like, because young people, all of us spend time on those platforms. So I think it's a good thing. I'm not really sure. I mean, you hear the odd sort of like story around people complaining about like some program on the BBC. It was a bit raunchy or a bit too left wing, bit too right wing. Like, what's that going? Like, I mean, I'm not really sure how it would affect the programming that Netflix and streamers do on a weekly, daily basis. So it'd be interesting to see how it affects them. I think probably they expect it to happen. Probably, I don't know. I mean, they've already probably factored into how they output their programming, but yeah, it's just TV's TV, isn't it? Like, we all should follow the same rules.
Yeah, well, that's where I wanted to move the discussion onto. So, Lindsay, how do you think this could affect them, the streaming platforms?
It's an interesting one because I think that I agree with Kieran. They should be held accountable in the same way that the linear broadcasters are in the UK. Because when I refer to that, I'm not just referring to linear broadcasters and in terms of I turn on TV and I watch Channel 4. Their online platforms have to be held to the same accountability as their broadcast services, as their linear broadcast services. So I can watch something on my Sky box and I have to put a pin in every single time I access it, but I haven't got to do the same thing with something that's arguably of worse, like more danger to children on Netflix or Amazon Prime. but I do have to set up rules for 4OD, or I have to set up rules for ITV Hub, or ITVX. So if I'm doing all that for those streaming platforms, the other ones should be held accountable in the same way. The YouTube thing becomes obviously very complicated in this, because we talked about it only a few weeks ago that in the US, the majority of ads over the course of a 3-month campaign period, the majority of ads bought on YouTube were being served on TVs, not on other devices. So that again lends weight to, well, where does YouTube fit into this regulation? YouTube is currently covered by the UK Digital Online Safety Act. So that's kind of covered there. But again, it gets more complicated, because that doesn't mean you have to be able to put child safety rules or pins in the same way as as you need to for like 4 or ITVX.
You imagine that's going to come though. Like if you're,
this is it, yeah.
And then how do you define TV? And like if you were going to extend that logic, then like what about advertising, right? All the broadcasters are financing Clearcast, which is the sort of like the clearinghouse for all the ads on terrestrial and BVOD, SVOD, and those channels, and they're subsidising the whole industry. So will Netflix and Amazon and YouTube, which I think I agree with Lindsay. Like, you know, if they're on TV, should they be all kind of adhering to this? Because like, if you think, if you bring it from an Adtech perspective, you know, you go from Ofcom and you go to the ASA, and you know, you start thinking about the advertisements that run on these platforms. Should they be all held to account as well?
I agree, because also what you have with those big streaming platforms is you have product placement. And so Stranger Things is an example that comes to mind immediately, where they were advertising Coke, like old school Coke, because they actually made a comment about the fact that the recipe had changed, all that kind of stuff, but it's still product placement. And according to our HFSS high fat salt sugar rules, that shouldn't be allowed to be viewed in the same way. So if Stranger Things is not against a watershed and you could watch it at any time of day with no pin required, then how do those two things merge together? And I think that makes it like very complicated for the streamers, but also for our regulators to navigate. And will a streamer then decide to block content or have to edit content? There's a similar thing in Germany. The Digital Safety Act of the EU kind of covers this to a degree, but in Germany they've got, I think it's a JMSTV. It's some ridiculously long word, obviously. So JMSTV, which is very, very strict, because they are one of the strictest in the world. And they have made the likes of Netflix. They have to add a pin layer to viewership in Germany specifically.
What, age gated?
Yeah. So age verification is a thing in Germany. Apparently, there's a separate layer on Netflix. So that could be something that we have that Netflix had to do as well, because they otherwise could just block content or edit content. Because the other part of this, which I was interested in, is the news impartiality aspect, which, you know, don't get us started on that issue in our country at the moment. But if everything's got to be impartial by law, so if Netflix produced and that will apply to the streaming platforms that have over 500,000 subscribers. So if there's like a documentary on like Netflix or Disney Plus that is deemed to be impartial, would then Ofcom be able to come in and say, we need you to block this documentary because it doesn't adhere to our impartiality rules under this new regulatory layer? So I think it's a minefield.
Yeah. I mean,
it just shows how complex regulation is market to market.
It might affect the cost of production.
Exactly.
Like, it might affect what series get shown in the UK and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And it kind of evens. The thing is, like, if you think about it, the streamers have had a sort of a free run, right? Like, Netflix is this massively scaled platform, but they've almost kind of like dodged a lot of local regulations because of what they are. And that sort of has hampered, you know, that sort of made the competitiveness unfair in the market, because Channel 4 and ITV, Sky and the BBC have to produce to the letter of the law. So that is sort of like, you know, that affects their production budgets and what they can. And Netflix can just basically build a, you know, global product for everybody, all singing, all dancing. But, you know, you've got Stranger Things, which is, you know, flouting sort of the HFSS regulations around, you know, these teenage kids randomly drinking Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola paid them 100 million to be like a product placement. I think that does affect production in a way that we're not really conceiving of right now. So yeah, maybe there's sort of like unintended consequences of that regulation. Be interested to see how it's policed. Like, we have to hire more people, more jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's government though, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But
Good
also,
pensions,
like, it
though.
requires people to complain about it,
Yeah.
which they are very, very good at doing. On, like, you hear sort of
there's
stories
some
about
great
Love
people.
Island.
I
Love
didn't
Island,
like that
with bullying.
programme.
Exactly.
Yeah, lots of
Yeah,
outfits.
people do
now
like
ones.
to send some
They
strange
love
complaints
it.
sometimes.
They love it. And now you can do
What
all
do
the
you call the
complaining
one who
online.
used to have the mailbag on the BBC? And she used to write, is the right to reply? What's her
There was
name?
points of view, wasn't there?
It was a point of view, yeah. Well, like
But that was Terry Wogan.
no, there was like there was this program. It was on half an hour every day on BBC years ago, and everyone's writing in letters about programs. Like, I didn't like your man in that program because of this, and this. Like,
Well, I think it still exists. You can actually still
What's her name?
The L ones can still write in,
I don't know what her name was. She was just.
but the young ones now do it
It'll come
online.
back to me later. Hi, it's there was some woman who did it.
It's not like Esther Ranson or something.
Esther Ranson.
Was it Esther Ranson?
It
Yeah.
was Esther
Yeah.
Ranson. I don't know what it was called, mailbag or something.
It wasn't points of view.
Hold on, that's what we're doing in the podcast now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
We should probably talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah, what's that episode?
Esther Ranson, the podcast.
Didn't think we'd bring her name up, but never mind. Here we are.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm going to move us on to the next story because we've got another streaming story. So this one focuses on the Six Nations debut. So ads placed in game during a rugby match, which took place earlier this month, left some viewers feeling quite upset. In the first half, an ad by Samsung played while players prepared for a scrum. And this was criticised as being intrusive and disruptive. And then another ad placement was repeated in the second half of the game with an ad from Virgin Atlantic. And a lot of viewers of the match felt that the ad placements were just, kind of crossed the line. It was too invasive. What do you both think? Lindsay, do you believe
you
it?
watch rugby?
I mean,
Like, what's your thoughts on ad
it's
appearing during the
free.
scrum?
Like, it was free on the BBC and free on ITV. Like, scrums are okay. I guess the scrum is kind of like it's a very integral part of rugby, right? Very technical, very, very nuanced, right? And there's like commentary about before these hulking giants smash into each other, like bloody four massive pickup trucks banging into each other. There's a whole nuance about scrum down and tight head, loose head, and the prop, and there's a whole science around it, right? So I do see if the sound is on in the ad and you can't hear that commentary, yeah, I'd probably be pissed off, but I don't see, like, you're just watching it, right, and you see an ad for Virgin on the right hand side. I don't see any harm in that.
I think it wasn't a sound on ad, was it? Do we know?
I don't think
what
it was a sound on ad.
It was just it's quite common in America to have just things pop up in
I
parts of the
just
street,
saw
isn't it?
I thought it was like, I mean, there's hoardings around these players, right? They're all
That's
they're
true.
all wearing branded jerseys. What the hell's the problem, right? So like,
I guess that's not an interruption though.
But
It's
it is
like
an
a
interruption.
different sort of.
I mean, in the background, if you
it
flashing
interrupts your
bloody
eyes.
lights, on the hoardings, that's a bloody interruption. Like, whatever. It's new. It's a look. If you can still hear the commentary, you can see the TV, and there's a bloody ad for Virgin, right? But it's like done in the right way. I mean, I would probably contextually, I would probably get some backache drugs or just advertise something that's relevant to the scrum,
Come on, Eurofem.
Heavy lifting equipment now available at Paddy's Plant Hire, stuff like that, bulldozers for sale. That could be interesting, But I don't like people just complain about it. Like, I mean, as long as it's not like if it was interrupting the conversation of the commentators,
I think it did stop. Like the commentator's voice was cut, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was kind of all focus.
I saw one of
was
the.
on
I definitely think the ads have optimized a lot because I saw one on ITV afterwards that wasn't as intrusive. It was more. It was very it was subtle and it was just There's if you think about it, you're coming to the scrum. Was
it like hot? Was it the screen in half?
Yeah,
like
it was a half of
vertically
the
in
screen in
half.
half. But they're standing around before the thing, and the guys are talking. So there's nothing really happening. If you have, here I sound like some production guy.
Yeah.
If you have the ad just playing before the scrum comes together, then there's no problem with that at all.
And that's what it was. It wasn't during the scrum. It was before the scrum.
It was definitely that.
Because I spoke to a couple of people who were fuming about it.
And they'll get over it. I mean, there was people crying when there was, branding on jerseys, and now they look like race car drivers. Like they've got branding on the arms, branding on the back. I mean,
yeah, the F1 is insane.
I don't think it
Yeah.
affects the players, and it shouldn't affect the viewers either. And they should remember that they're not paying for this, right? ITV's free. BBC's free, and then BBC doesn't show ads anyway, but the ITV is free and you have to pay the bills, so what's the problem?
Would you rather an ad alongside, not a pause, but like before the scrum started, rather than like cutting into the game to actually go away to
I think
ads? That's the problem,
cutting
isn't it?
into the game would be a bad idea.
Because ITV needs to make revenue out of this. So.
Yeah, but like...
Because I guess some people view... I mean, I'm not really a rugby watcher, so...
Same.
I can't really...
No idea
I'm
what
not sure
Americans-
like the relevance
Yeah, but
of the
most American sports now, right? Baseball, NHL, American football, they're tailor-made for advertising because the stop-start...
100% to the
'cause if
hilt.
you're, exactly. Like you have a nice off in hockey and there'll be a break and there'll be, there's time for an ad. American football is classic, like, you know what I mean? There's players coming off and on the field. Baseball is the same. If your players are out, there's time between, the new team coming on to bat and the new team coming on to field. But and the
commentators are also commercialising and talking.
But in the UK,
advertising as well.
UK and Ireland, right? They're fast field sports, right? Soccer and Gaelic and hurling. Like you never get an ad in hurling. Like it's like played at 100 miles an hour. So I think rugby does lend itself a little bit, but I don't think it's going to totally ruin the experience. So
when could you get it during football when they're about to walk off to go and do a corner or a throw in?
That doesn't make any. It wouldn't be enough time.
It would be like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
I mean, like something would
Football
happen.
is just
like
the breaks, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Football is already boring as it is. Like it's very low scoring. Nothing really
true.
happens.
Yeah, I
like
agree with that.
so,
true.
like throwing an ad in there is not going to, a load of pissed up lads in the pub will start throwing pint glasses at the TV. A precursor for the World Cup.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, Lindsay, what do you think?
I mean, I don't watch rugby. I have no idea what he's talking about. But I think that from the perspective of like one of the people I spoke to said like a scrum is not a pause, like it's an active part of the game, so you can't put an ad during it. And I was like, okay, sure, I don't know what you're talking about. But if like it is in the kind of the seconds before the scrum actually properly kicks off, that feels okay. And I think we need to probably accept that is where that's the direction we're heading in. Like we can't go a full US on this because we don't have stop-start games the same way. But there's ways they might start trying to do that. Like I've seen some random ways of advertising on screen during cricket, for example. Again, I don't watch cricket, but it's in the background. It's like all these broadcasters will have to. It's a test and learn. They have to kind of work out what's going to do well, what's not going to do well, and also if what the opportunity cost is. Like if the revenue's worth it. I'm sorry for the 10 people that write into the other ones that write into Esther Ranson. Yeah. Then they're going to do it because they get revenue for it.
Yeah. If I was an insurance company now, I wonder what I'd pitch ITV next year for injuries. So if there's an injury, get the insurance up on the right hand side.
Injury lawyers for you.
Life insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some good opportunities for some quite funny ad placements
good
as well.
Tie-ins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do actually think that could open up a bit of an interesting market for contextually wise. It would be brilliant, like,
it could be quite funny.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you think we will start to see ads become even more intrusive?
I think you need to... intrusive is not the word I would use. Creative.
Presence.
Creative.
They're more there.
Yeah. More present.
Yeah.
As if they're not there already.
No, but we've... That's the problem, right? If you think about a classic web page, we've learnt to block them. We've learnt not to see them. Certainly certain placements on the page we've learnt not to see and we've learnt to ignore it. So because of that, and that's why kind of attention is such a huge thing, because it's like, actually, am I seeing an ad? Am I paying attention to it? Arguably not, like it's below the fold, etc., etc. All this kind of, so many studies have been done over the years, obviously Lumen, a great example of however many studies have been produced to show what value attention has. That's really important on a web page perspective. In any other environment, we scroll through the ad, we scroll through the ads, we fast forward through the ads. If the ad is appearing at a time when it's some sort of in play thing is going on, see how the sporty lingo I've got here? If you're going to do it, then why
But if it was smart, it doesn't necessarily have to be like an ad. Like look at some of the Super Bowl ads. If you can nail down a specific piece of the game and you have a good contextually relevant ad with funny, engaging ad, it'll work. People will laugh at that and will engage in it. So I think it's
a good chance to be creative.
It definitely opens up an interesting real-time perspective. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, the key is kind of doing it cleverly.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
people are engaged by it instead of being like, why is this on my screen?
Yeah, definitely.
The planned hire ads, man. That's
There you go.
that's a
Plant
killer.
hire ads. You heard it here
Yeah.
first.
Okay, let's move on to our next topic. So now we're going to be looking at retail, and we're discussing Walmart. So Walmart's latest earnings report revealed that the company's ad revenue in 2025 totaled $6.4 billion, equivalent to £3.4 billion, representing an increase of 37% globally and 41% in the US for the Walmart Connect business. A third of Walmart's profit was a result of advertising and membership income. It was also revealed that Walmart customers who use the company's AI-powered shopping assistant, Sparky, which was launched last summer in June, have an order value about 35% higher than those who don't use it. The assistant helps customers to find items and synthesize reviews. It's been used by about half of Walmart's app users, and the company hails it as helping them evolve from traditional search to intent-driven commerce. Kieran, what do you make of the fact that users of Walmart's AI assistant end up with an order value 35% higher than those who don't?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know what to think about this. I'm more fascinated by the amount of money they've made.
Yeah.
Like the AI stuff, whatever. Like it's still a small percentage of people. Like, you know, I think there was some stats there recently around how many people are actually using AI to buy stuff, and it's so tiny. And
But what does that mean by AI? Like LLMs or like AI
using
from a chatbot
an
perspective?
agent, right?
Right,
right. And I don't imagine this is, but like you can argue that AI optimization is ever machine learning optimization. So it's it's just extrapolating a very obvious thing that they would use anyway in the process. I am interested in about the 6.5 billion, because one of the things I did read about it is there is a cap on what they can grow at. Like that's been our sort of growth story in the market, right? So Walmart's market cap has exploded over the last 5 years because people now see it as a tech company, not a retail company, right? The problem they have is, how do they grow that, right? They have to go into horizontal areas? Do they have to start buying more ad tech? That's the kind of way I'm thinking about it. And certainly it's a very US centric story, right? Walmart does not have a footprint outside of the US. It doesn't own a load of stores in Europe. It doesn't own a load of stores in Latin. I could be completely wrong with that. But
I think you're right. Yeah,
it's a very US centric story. So where does it go from here? Like, I mean, I'm fascinated. Like, would you hear stories around consolidation in retail media on the supply side. So does Walmart look at M&A now? Like, if it can't grow its revenue organically, does it start thinking, well, I could use my data in other channels, right? In other horizontal channels, vertical channels. And then globally, do I just buy a Criteo, or do I buy a Kevil, or do I buy some of that to help all these other RMNs kind of consolidate into one play, right? I'm agnostic when it comes to that. I could do that because I don't compete with Carrefour or Tesco or Dunnhumby or Sainsbury's or ever outside the US. So there's their plans now. Look at that, because they bought that TV business, Vizio,
yeah,
Vizio, which was a huge buy for them, right?
Yeah.
Could they do something similar over here? Could they buy a TV business and sort of plant themselves in Europe, like, you know? So I think I'm fascinated to know if they have global ambitions, what they're going to do. Like the AI stuff, that's bullshit for the market. But I'm interested in the ad revenue. Can it go higher? Like, can they get beyond that 3-4 billion mark, right? Or is that the cap? Like, is the growth going to be like 3% instead of 25% or 30% next year? Like that's what I want to know. And I think the thing about Walmart is, are they an ad tech player now? Like, you know, they've built stuff. I know they've built stuff, and they were working with a trade desk, and they've opened up themselves to other DSPs. But I'm wondering, did they start going shopping for, like, looking globally? Go look at Amazon, right? Can we be competitive with Amazon, but actually probably more on a facilitation piece rather than first party piece?
Lindsay, what are your thoughts about this?
I agree. I think that the next stage for them, especially because globalization is not a route they can really go down. They tried, from a store perspective.
Did they buy? They
owned Asda for a while.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, which they've still got a stake in, I think. But they also, I remember when I was living in Germany well, I don't know, 20 years ago, they also just launched in Germany, but that
Right.
failed almost immediately. So they have tried to kind of open retail stores, supermarkets in European countries, but to no avail, as far as I can tell.
We just don't buy guns and milk over here.
Well,
We buy milk, but we don't buy guns.
Not the gun bit.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And I think that the next obvious option is for them to have to get into the tech business. Like
Yeah.
they have to compete with Amazon at their own game. Like they're two sort of, I suppose, retail giants, but they're not, because one is very clearly a tech business and one is still being viewed as a retailer. But is that fair? It's a bit like the argument about, YouTube TV.
Yeah.
Is Walmart still a retailer? At the moment, yeah, I think it definitely is, but it's going to need to branch out. Like, if, as Kieran says, there's a cap as to how much more revenue, or especially how steep they can grow. 40% year on year is absolutely insane, and they won't be able to maintain that without.
Was it 40%? And I heard their fees are pretty chunky as well.
Yes.
Their commits are quite high as well in the US. Like they want their brands to commit a lot of money to spend. So
Which doesn't surprise me.
yeah, I mean, like they are they're huge in the US. They are the number one retail store in the US.
Yeah, I think they've got 21% of the
Yeah.
grocery market in the US.
Yeah. But
Amazon's got
the
nothing.
data doesn't travel outside the US. So how
exactly.
how
Yeah.
does that give them any competitive advantage? I mean, they could maybe buy some assets and shore up. They could own the retail media market in the US, but then they're competitive to the others, aren't they? Like, so all the other RMNs. I think it's a tricky one. Like,
Yeah. I don't really know what. I think that the advertising perspective of the advertising is where they clearly want to. Like, everything they talk about now is advertising. Like that's
all they talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's their key area of focus is growing.
Funny enough, it's
their
same-
advertising and memberships business.
The same with Uber.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it's true. That's true.
Although they're talking about the ride hailing, the automated cars, but that's sort of like break even money.
Yeah.
And the profit is all the advertising. So, but then Uber's a global product. I mean,
Yes. And how could Walmart expand globally without having infrastructure, without
Yeah.
having physical infrastructure?
Yeah.
Because they're not. If they try to do it by opening stores, it's not going to work.
no, I don't think they want to go down that route, because
No.
that's the route they want. I mean, unless they expand the e-commerce site, but then the e-commerce site is joined to the hip with the retail stores.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one now. I could see how they could grow in the US. I mean, buying the trade desk could be interesting. Like basically the Walmart DSP. I mean, they're kind of doing that already. I mean, would they want to shell out 11 million for the trade desk? I don't know. I mean, they could try and own the supply side, but they'll run into the same kind of conflicts. They're taking money from everybody else. So it's a tricky one. I think verticalization maybe get into like pharma and all those other different verticals.
Yeah.
Maybe like look, we've gone retail. Let's look at pharma. Let's look at travel. Let's look at that. Like I don't know if that's a route they can go down with the data set they have. But it's that number it's a huge number. I mean, I think it puts them in the top 20 sort of media businesses in the world. I think like that with that range.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're huge. Yeah.
But apart from that, no, I don't know anything about the AI shopper.
Well, the AI thing is interesting though, because like that is if that's where that probably represents a huge opportunity for retail media.
Yeah.
And where the next wave of advertising across retail media networks is going to go is within agents on retail sites.
Yeah.
It feels like to me that's the next big sort of bastion. Which if Walmart's agent on its site, Sparky, lovely name, if Sparky is helping those that are using it increase their basket by 35%, which is for many retailers what their goal is. For some, it's to get people in store. For others, it's like I don't want more people in store. I want those that are in store or are online to increase their basket size.
Yeah.
Then that's really interesting because like. That's going to be kind of probably a blueprint for any other big retailers in the US, certainly, to try and do the same thing.
Do you think that will become the norm then? Kind of shopping with an AI assistant?
Eventually.
Yeah.
But does that not take it? I don't know. I think people will still want to go to the supermarket. I really do. I think people
Well,
will.
they definitely will.
Because like times of the week, you're gonna
I
have
guess
to go.
depends
You're gonna
what
have to
you're
go in and
buying.
buy some stuff anyway. Like sometimes you do the weekly shop and it's just geez, I've run out of so and so I need
Do
to
you
buy.
go into supermarket? Or
Yeah,
do you do online shopping?
I go into the supermarket.
I actually quite like going to the supermarket, like looking at what there is and picking things.
Yeah. People like it. People like the social aspect of it. Like, it's weird. I don't like, we want to automate everything. We'll be just all reduced to a bloody prompt. But I just don't think that's actually the what's going to happen. There'll be a mix and match of things. Like, so supermarkets aren't going away. What's interesting though is what I heard from a fairly large sort of retail media focus agency is that the RMNs or the supermarkets are trying to focus more on their own internal media. So what they were doing in it is basically doing a lot of off-site retargeting. So taking like the data and then funneling it through a DSP and buying, third-party media, right? I think what they're more interested in now is using that first party to power their out-of-home, their online stuff. Like, they're looking to make more money within their own ecosystem. So that's quite an interesting development as well. So I don't know how that factors into what Walmart, maybe they've already nailed that, but that's certainly one to look at for this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how everything develops.
Definitely.
Yeah. So now moving on to our last topic of the day, out of home, and we're looking at some growth figures. So figures from industry trade body Outsmart reveal that the out of home sector reported its highest ever annual revenue in 2025, growing 2.6% to £1.4 billion. Digital was largely responsible for the growth, with digital out of home up by 3.2% and classic up by 1.3%. Digital was responsible for 67% of total annual revenue last year. Lindsay, can we expect another strong year for out of home in 2026?
Definitely. I think, I hate to say the year of because that's absolute bullshit, but it's a really important year for out of home. I'm delighted for the channel, honestly, because it often just gets ignored and kind of and like goes under the radar, and it's kind of underplayed the value of out of home. I think in a world where, potentially AI and everything that AI stands for could actually be the kind of real help to out of home, because as people are getting more and more kind of frustrated and kind of and less trusting of what they're seeing online, they're looking to interact with the physical world again, and out of home I think has a huge opportunity here. And there's so much opportunity from that perspective, but also just the improvements in technology, from a measurement perspective. Outcomes are huge, and out of home really wins when brands are looking to drive outcomes, because out of home could definitely play into that. Everyone's talking about omni-channel. Like, one thing that we notice is that, for ExchangeWire, when we're doing content, anything out of home related, it's important to the out of home players in the market to have an omni-channel conversation. That's where they feel they're going to win, because outside of that, I think they feel like a sort of bit of a spare part. It's like, if we've got any money left, we'll put it into out of home. Whereas if you actually bring them to an omni-channel conversation, that's where they can win, because they can genuinely drive so much from a kind of full-on omni-channel strategy. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Kieran,
Yeah,
what do you think?
from a first-party capital perspective, right? The VC fund, we're looking at out of home companies because there's a couple of macro things happening, right? The sort of collapse of lower funnel marketing with the growth of chatbots and Q&A search engines. And you imagine that, like, brand building is going to become even more important in this new war, right? And there's no better sort of channel to brand build than the out-of-home space. As Lindsay said, it's got tried and trusted sort of record of actually delivering outcomes for advertisers. And even small brands, when they use QR codes, they see huge uplift in sales from like running ads on the tube. Believe it or not, people are taking pictures of it and going like, I love this ad. It's a brilliant medium. I think from an investment point of view, it's slightly been overlooked. It's quite opaque. The agencies are specialised, and it's not a reflection, but technology-wise, it's been relatively slow to kind of develop in that direction, right? With digital out of home, it sort of has gone leaps and bounds in terms of that direction. And you've got companies like Lumen, for instance, who are doing some seriously good work on measurement and activation point of view. So there's a amazing mid to upper funnel piece that actually has huge impact on outcomes there. And there's some great companies there. Like, if you think about some of the M&A last year in out of home, right? It was about $2 billion globally. Clear Channel got bought by their Northern European business, got bought by Bauer for, I think it was about 600 million. Vistar, T-Mobile bought Bliss. Vistar actually got sold last year as well, I believe. GSTV, which is a gas station, digital out of home ad network in the US, out of home ad network in the US. It's sold for like 800 million. So like you've all these amazing businesses that are part and parcel of your daily life. And remember, like AI could destroy much of digital, right? Like, you know, the hyperscalers, if you will, are talking about how they're going to kill agencies and kill, you know, online media. But the reality is fixed screens in your day-to-day journey, right? The outside world are going to become even more important, right? And you know, we all have stopped and watched billboards going, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's, I like that coat. Oh, I like those shoes. I think I might go on holiday there, like, you know. Oh, that's a cool phone.
Yeah.
You know, so like, there's huge brand building across the funnel. Like, it's going to be even more important. And here's the thing that's interesting, right? I know that was one of the record hauls for out of home in the UK, but globally, it's supposed to compound around, it's going to compound between 8 and 10% over like the next 6-7 years. Wow. Right? So huge. Like it's a fast growing business. And my view is that there's a ton of people who will work in that space now because it's going to become even more important than it was. I think more money goes in. And the one thing you got to remember is no Google, no Amazon, no TikTok, none of those hyperscalers. It's quite a open, fragmented space. I mean, global are pretty big, JC Daco big, but there are lots of sort of independent supply plays, lots of independent Adtech plays in that space. So I find it to be like from an investment point of view and from a industry point of view, it's a fascinating place to be at the minute.
Yeah, I agree. We're not as fragmented from the number of media owners as they are in the US, where literally you can have like a mum and pop shop owns one billboard and you have to go and buy that billboard directly from that mum and pop shop, and they still use a painter, and you have to come and get painters. There's still a lot of work to be done between the kind of the analog out of home and digital out of home. But I think the stat was that 64% or something is bought digitally.
67%.
67%, which is fantastic. And I think that I don't want to have agencies coming at me, but some conversations I've had recently have been around kind of what is the blocker to making that percentage higher. Arguably infrastructure is obviously plays a role here, but there's also a question about buying and buying practices and buying structure within agencies and who is doing the buying of the old school analog out of home versus digital out of home. Yeah. Because digital out of home can now be bought alongside everything. You're bought alongside TV, bought alongside display, alongside social. That makes it nice and easy. And it depends how you're set up internally at an agency as to kind of how that's being bought. And there's an argument to be said that certainly in some of the kind of the holdcos, the larger sort of tankers, that there's the old school out of home way of buying and the old school structure that is kind of causing a blocker to that actually being able to be given the chance to grow more than it has done.
Yeah. Remember we used to do like panels around programmatic out of home, and the old school guys would be spitting.
They would be spitting.
Bile.
They would, yeah.
And I think
great examples from 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, and to be fair to them, I think they were a little bit right, because I don't think like it doesn't matter whether it's bought on a impression level basis or whatever. It's the data that's been applied to it, like, you know what I mean? That the amazing first party data you have and the amazing measurement you have now, and the fact it sits such an interesting place in the funnel, right? I think all of these things come together, and we're slowly moving into something that's going to be really, really valuable. And I no longer think the programmatic thing stuff, because it'll be programmatic guaranteed or whatever. Like, it'll probably be a direct buy, but the campaign will be activated via a data driven buy. Like, so. I just find it fascinating. I think it's a great space, really is. I mean, it's one of the bright spots in sort of the industry at the minute, and it is interesting. Over the last couple of years, I've seen a lot of peers like who were in the programmatic space or in the digital space have kind of progressed into out of home and have had huge impact, positive impact on that industry. So it's a lot of good people over there, a lot of smart people.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so many opportunities there. And like you were saying at the start, Lindsay, it's like with so many people now not be able to kind of trust what they see on their screens online. There's a lot of things for advertisers to take advantage of, and because people trust more what they see outside, I guess.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. It's the year of out of home, guys.
Yeah, the year of out of
I
home.
thought it was the year of the app.
It's the year of the year of AI, the app. It's still the year of mobile, isn't it? No one talks about mobile anymore. But
I think we should do an app special.
Yeah,
a lot of things.
Another
Yeah.
interesting space. It's kind of
It
starting
really
to
is.
open up.
Mobile web is dead.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
a year of out of home.
Tangent.
Yeah.
Yes.
You heard that here.
Definitely, year of out of home it is.
Okay, I think that's a good note
YOLO.
to finish on. So thanks both for joining. Thank you,
What an
Lindsay.
ending. Thank you, Amy.
Thank
Great
you.
to be here.
Thank you, Kieran.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah. And thanks to our listeners. Tune in next week for more Adtech content.
You've been listening to the MadTech podcast, brought to you by ExchangeWire.